and he directed Thomas to tell his story, a story of spiritual power and ancient wisdom to a world that was now in desperate need of hope. The battle had now moved from the spiritual to the physical. The shadow, now aware of humanity's new power, was not a ghost, but a physical presence. It was a cold, sharp dread that rattled the windows of skyscrapers, a feeling of profound emptiness that seeped into the hearts of a terrified city. It was a parasite that fed on fear, and it was now for the first time aware of its new host. The battle had just begun, and the world was now on the front lines. Chapter 25, The Last Hope. Eris knew he had to act. He could not fight a physical enemy with a spiritual weapon. He needed a new kind of weapon, one that could fight a parasite that fed on fear. He needed to use the one thing that the shadow could not comprehend: love. He directed Eric to build a powerful new transmitter, a weapon of pure empathy that would broadcast a powerful spiritual signal to the world. It was a weapon that would not harm the shadow, but would heal the world, mending the broken hearts and the fractured minds of a terrified humanity. The signal was a powerful spiritual force that would act as a shield against the shadow's consuming emptiness. It was a force that the shadow, a being of pure hatred and emptiness, could not withstand. Caleb, the security chief, now a tactical genius, prepared for the final battle. He used his knowledge of the Mesa's energy to create a series of light voids that would act as a defense against the shadow's physical incursions. He was not a warrior, but a guardian. He had to protect humanity from its own fears to show them that they were not alone. Thomas, now a spiritual leader, told his story to a world that was now listening. He told them of the dire wolves of the ancient indigenous people of the Mesa, a spiritual fortress in a cosmic war. He told them that they were not alone, that they were a part of a much larger cosmic symphony, a powerful force of consciousness that could stand against the forces of entropy. He gave them hope, the one thing that the shadow could not take away. The final pages of the novel describe Eris standing on the Mesa, a simple physicist who had become a cosmic warrior. He directed Eric to activate the new transmitter. A powerful spiritual signal, a beam of pure love and empathy shot out into the world. It was a silent force, a whisper in a world of chaos, but it was enough. The shadow, a parasite that fed on fear, could not withstand the power of a world that was finally learning to love. The battle was over. Humanity had won. Chapter 26, The Legacy. The defeat of the shadow was not the end. It was the beginning of a new chapter in the history of the cosmos. The world, now aware of its new cosmic destiny, was a new place. The ancient divisions, the wars, the hatred were gone, replaced by a new sense of shared humanity. The Mesa was not just a scientific mystery, it was a spiritual destiny. Eris, now a hybrid of two beings, became a new kind of leader, a spiritual guide for a new species. He had shown humanity that their greatest strength was not in technology, but in their spirit. He had shown them that they were not alone, that they were a part of a much larger cosmic symphony, a powerful force of consciousness that could stand against the forces of entropy. The universe was no longer silent. It was waiting for them. And Eris, a simple physicist, was the first. He was the guardian of the galaxy, a warrior for a new species, a beacon of hope in a new cosmic world. Chapter 27, The Price of Awakening. The peace that settled over the world was fragile. The defeat of the Shadow's first major attack had united humanity, but it had also revealed a deeper, more insidious threat. The military and the governments of the world, once baffled, were now terrified. They saw the power of the Mesa not as a tool for salvation, but as a weapon of unimaginable force. They saw Eris not as a guardian, but as a threat to their control, a rogue element who wielded a power that they could not comprehend. Eris, with the luminary's knowledge, felt their fear as a cold, sharp blade of aggression. He knew the world was not ready for the full truth. He had to guide them to show them the way, but without giving them a weapon that they would inevitably use against themselves. The battle had now moved from the physical to the political. It was a war of ideas, a struggle for the soul of humanity itself. He directed Caleb and Eric to fortify the ranch's defenses not with physical barriers, but with a new kind of light void, a powerful psychic shield that would repel any attempts at military incursions. The ranch was no longer just a spiritual fortress. It was a sanctuary, a place where a new kind of human could be born. Thomas, the spiritual leader, was now a target. His stories of the dire wolves and the ancient indigenous people were a powerful force for a new spiritual awakening, but they were also a threat to the old systems of power. He was being hunted by shadowy government agencies, his every move monitored, his every word scrutinized. He was a prophet in a world that was not yet ready for a new God. He had to be careful. Eris knew the price of awakening was not just the defeat of a cosmic parasite. It was the birth of a new world, a new humanity, a new set of rules. The battle was far from over. It was a cosmic war for the soul of humanity, and it was only just beginning. Chapter 28, The Council of Light. The global awakening had not just created a new kind of humanity, it had also created a new kind of leader. All over the world, individuals who had been spiritually and consciously attuned to the Mesa's energy were now a part of a new global network, a Council of Light. They were not politicians or soldiers. They were artists, musicians, healers, and spiritual leaders. They had no weapons, no armies, no political power. Their only weapon was their consciousness, their ability to connect and empathize with each other and with the universe itself. They saw the world not as a collection of separate nations, but as a single powerful nexus of humanity, a beating heart of consciousness that was now under siege. Eris, as the conduit for the luminaries' consciousness, was their spiritual leader. He guided them not with orders, but with a powerful, empathetic signal, showing them the way, but allowing them to make their own choices. He showed them how to use their collective consciousness to create a powerful shield of empathy, a spiritual force that would act as a defense against the shadow's consuming emptiness. The Council of Light was not a new government. It was a new kind of humanity. The military, baffled and disarmed, was now a passive observer in a war they could not comprehend. They had their weapons, their armies, their political power, but they were powerless against a force that operated on the spiritual level, on the very fabric of reality itself. They saw the world changing, but they couldn't stop it. The old systems of power were crumbling, replaced by a new cosmic order. The enigma of the Mesa was not just a scientific mystery, it was a spiritual destiny. Chapter 29, The Final Battle. The shadow, enraged by the global awakening, was not defeated. It was a force of entropy, a cosmic constant. It had been defeated, but it had not been destroyed. It had retreated, but it had not been forgotten. It was now aware of humanity's new power, the powerful force of empathy that was a shield against its consuming emptiness. It was ready for its final all-out assault. It would not come as a physical force. It would come as a psychological one. It would not attack the world with weapons, but with a powerful, soul-crushing wave of despair, of hopelessness, of a profound emptiness that would turn humanity against itself. It would come to tear humanity apart, to make them easy prey for its consuming emptiness. Eris felt its presence as a cold, sharp dread, a feeling of profound emptiness that rattled his soul. The battle was far from over. It was a cosmic war for the soul of humanity, and it was only just beginning. The new Guardians, the Council of Light, were ready. They were the new guardians of the galaxy, a new species of light and matter, a powerful force of consciousness that would stand against the forces of entropy. The universe was no longer silent. It was waiting for them.